Hey, retreat leaders, it's time for another Throwback Thursday episode. This week, I'm bringing back a conversation that I think every retreat leader, whether you're brand new or you've been hosting for years, needs to hear. This episode originally aired in January 2025, and Chelle from Topia Retreat Center in Baja, Mexico, joined me. What I love about this conversation is that while so much has changed in the retreat industry over the past year, AI, SEO, marketing trends, visibility strategies, the core foundations of hosting successful retreats have stayed exactly the same. Chelle and I talk about some of the biggest mistakes retreat leaders make, and honestly, I still see these mistakes happening every single day. Things like not preparing guests properly, not communicating enough, choosing dates without thinking through weather, holidays, or travel logistics, and perhaps the biggest one of all, relying too heavily on social media instead of building genuine relationships and having real conversations. One of my favorite parts of this episode is Chelle's emphasis on connection. Because at the end of the day, people don't just join retreats because of a perfectly designed social media post. They join because they trust you, they feel seen by you, and they believe you'll create an experience that's worth investing in. If you've ever struggled to fill a retreat, improve your guest experience, or create stronger connections with your audience, I think you'll find a lot of wisdom in this conversation. So sit back, grab a notebook, and enjoy this Throwback Thursday episode with Chelle from Topia Retreat Center.
Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats.
Hey guys, welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. It's Shannon. I'm super excited about my host today. I think this is the first time I have had a fellow venue owner with me, and I am so excited about our topic. So welcome, Chelle, to the show. I'm so excited you are here.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Well, let's just first off have you tell us about you and your venue and all of that cool stuff, because I've been following you on social media for a while and your place is stunning. So can you just give us a little bit of history?
Absolutely. I own Topia Retreat Center. I co-own it with my husband, and we're located in Baja, California, Sur, Mexico. We built her from scratch. We've officially just been open 3 years this month. And we're a full service retreat center. And what I mean by that, so my background, I taught yoga for 15 years in Seattle. And I led retreats, and I led some wonderful retreats. And Chris and I, my husband, collaborated. We led together, and we led it at several different places. And when we decided to open Topia, we wanted to bring in a level of service that really the mission is to create ease and space so leaders can connect with their community, and we take care of all the details. So there's no need to bring a binder.
That sounds so yummy. And to give listeners perspective, which if you're curious about, if you're at the beginning stages of hosting retreats, or even if you've already been hosting retreats, there are definitely different levels that venues provide. One of the first venues that I started hosting at over 15 years ago was 100% self-service. In other words, when I showed up, there was actually no one there at all. You just got a set of keys and that was it. And you were renting their space. And then there's places like myself where we have staff on site. We can definitely help with some of the planning. We can help with some of the coordinating. But for the most part, the retreat host is putting together their own agenda, kind of making their own flow happen, and then we'll fill in as needed, or at least point them in the right direction. So we're kind of in the middle. And then there's you, who is like full service, which is such a beautiful space, regardless if you are new at hosting retreats or experienced at hosting retreats. I just hosted a retreat at a venue similar to that in Mexico. And as a very experienced retreat host, it is such a gift and such a blessing to host at a space that is full service.
Yes. I too led at a variety of different spaces and learned that for me, the type of support that I needed as a retreat leader was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and it also, it totally depends on the type of retreat that you're having, I'm sure, as far as which will fit your model best. But one of the things that I really wanted to narrow in on today with Chelle, because her and I had been talking back and forth on social media, and we were kind of sharing some of our thoughts, I guess you could say, on where we see some of the biggest mistakes that hosts are making and which really equate to why they may not be successful. And so, Shelley, I'd love for you to just share. Let's just start with first, like the biggest one, the biggest issue you see or mistake you see being made or lack of something that you see being made by hosts that could set them up possibly for a failure or for a lot of grief and frustration.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of missteps, let's say, in the planning process. I think a lot of leaders, I know I did this myself when I led my first retreat. I just got excited about a location. And that's where I started. I started sort of shopping venues, like the fun stuff. I started shopping venues and found one. And I didn't really do the foundational things that can that can make or break a retreat. And what I mean by that is there's a few things. Like, first and foremost, do you have a community? Do you have a traveling community, a community who's willing to come on retreat with you at this current time? Or is that something that needs to be built? So I would say in the pre-planning phase, identifying whether or not you have a community that is willing and ready to come on retreat with you would definitely be one of them. And part of that also is, do you have a community that has interest in going to the destination that you want to go to? So those two kind of go together. Is the community there, and do they want to go to a specific location with you? That's a huge one, is checking in and seeing if there's interest.
Hey, retreat leaders. Are your retreats the hidden gems of the travel world just waiting to be discovered? Well, it's time to shine a spotlight on them. Introducing the ultimate guide you've been waiting for, our free guide, Top 11 Tips for Building an Email List for you, the retreat leaders. Imagine an email list packed with eager attendees, hanging on to your every word and ready to book at the click of a button. We share the blueprint to creating a list that sells. Don't miss out on the action. Learn how to connect deeply with your audience, boost your bookings, and create a buzz that fills every retreat. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, these 11 tips are your secret weapon to success. Visit retreatleaderlistbuilding.com now to grab your free copy and start building an email list that sells out your retreats.
I love this. I love this so much because I think, just like you said, sometimes someone who is either new in the business or even maybe has been in the business for a little while, they do exactly what you say, which is, oh, this place looks so cool, I want to host there. And then they throw a bunch of stuff on a website. They, contact you, they throw a bunch of stuff on a website, and then there's like crickets. And I think it is exactly what you mentioned. One of the biggest things is, who is their community? Who are they marketing to? Is it big enough? And that doesn't just mean like you have to have this giant community, but do you have a very active community that's a good size that is willing to travel, right?
That's a great point, because it's not, we see some folks who think, let's say they are an influencer or have thousands and thousands of followers on social media. That does not mean that you have 10 people, 15 people that are going to come on retreat with you. The people who are going to come on retreat with you are typically people you have a personal relationship with, that trust you. So I don't want people to think, oh gosh, I have 100 followers on Instagram, there's no way I can fill a retreat. That's absolutely not true. It's all about the people that you have community and connection with that mean you're going to fill one. We see that all the time. People who expect they will because of a social media following, and it just doesn't pan out like that.
Shannon here, cutting in. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, then you already know something about me. I do not believe retreats should just break even. And I definitely don't believe you should be pouring your heart, energy, time, and money into experiences that leave you exhausted and underpaid. That's exactly why I created the Retreat Leader Mastermind, happening this August at my ranch in Austin. This is for retreat leaders who are done guessing, done underpricing, done trying to piece together random strategies from Instagram. At this mastermind, we will work on the real stuff: marketing, visibility, profitability, pricing, sales, AI and SEO, operations, scaling, and building a retreat business that actually supports your life. And if you've heard me say it over and over again, one of the biggest parts of growth is getting yourself in the right room. Because when you surround yourself with retreat leaders who are taking this seriously, your standards change fast. Now, if you know me, you also know I basically never discount my programs, like ever. But because you're a podcast listener, I wanted to do something special. You can get $250 off the Retreat Leader Mastermind with the code PODCAST. Again, that's code PODCAST for $250 off. You can grab the details at profitwithpurposemastermind.com or click the link in our notes. All right, let's get back to the episode. I have seen that so many times. So I'm so glad that you are saying this, because I don't know if you feel this way, Shelley, but when someone applies to host a retreat here and, we ask for their website and their social media and all that stuff. And when I go and look at their social media and I see, 100,000 followers or plus, I'm like, oh no. And it usually is because unless they have been hosting retreats successfully for a while, then that may be an exception to the rule. But if this is like their first venture into it and they've got this very big following, I've seen 500,000 plus. And I'm like, oh man, I know right off the bat, almost always, I don't want to completely pigeonhole someone, but almost always they're like, oh, for sure, I'll fill it because I have all of these followers. Mm-hmm. Actually, 9.9 times out of 10, it does not happen. It doesn't happen.
Because retreat guests are smart. They're spending a ton of money. Their time and their resources are precious, and they want to make sure that they're going to have a great experience. And one of the first parts of that is making sure that they know and trust the leader.
It is. Yeah, it's absolutely that. Do they have the relationship with the person, an actual relationship, not a surface one, not a, I see your post once in a while and I like it. It's a relational situation. The flip side to that could be is that if you, and I have seen this happen, do you give yourself then enough time to build that community, right? So for instance, I have worked with retreat hosts where whether they had a big following or not, I've even had some who did not have social media at all, which I don't recommend, but they gave themselves 12 months to market this in a very powerful way, which has been super effective, right? And so I think there's some different caveats there, but if you don't have the community that's willing to travel, the community that trusts you, an interactive community, then what is your marketing plan and how long are you giving yourself in order to attract the people that you want to work with, attract the people that you want in your community that will want to work with you to attend this retreat with you?
Absolutely. And having a small community also might mean, like you were talking about, leading retreats that don't have any services. It might mean starting really small and local and renting a house. It's something that's inexpensive, so that because retreat communities essentially are really built well on retreat. And so if that means you have 3 people with you at a, beautiful house that's close by, or something you get creative with, people can build that community in and of themselves and then work up to different venues or work up to different locations, things like that as well.
I love that. The other thing I've seen people do is maybe they partner with someone who does have the community, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe your specialty is meditation and yoga, and then you are partnering with someone who their specialty is, breath work and ice baths. I'm just making shit up off the top of my head, but you've got these 2 similar paths that are very complementary to each other. You don't have a community, but this person has a big community and a very active and engaged community. So partnering with someone who does have that community can also be beneficial. So long as you create the partnership in a very clearly outlined, defined, written way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've seen that be successful as well.
Same. We've seen that be successful. And there's so many benefits to co-leading a retreat together other than just the community piece, energy and the sense of collaboration. And I loved co-leading retreats with friends.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just can't emphasize enough the outlining of responsibilities and expectations and stuff. But otherwise, the energy is so beautiful, or it can be.
Absolutely.
And the outcome can be as well. What are some other things that you've noticed, or, just some other things that you see, either mistakes that are made or best practices that really help them when they come to you?
Well, this is what you and I were talking about on social media recently. I'd reached out to you for support because I was seeing a lot of this, and not a lot. I see this a couple of times a year. And this is the most challenging for me when leaders ask for support, because I feel like there's nothing I can do about it. And it's to choose dates wisely. So of course, look at holiday, get your target demographic, you identify those folks, and you look at holidays, you look at school time, you really look at what folks may or may not be doing to pick dates, but also what I see as an international location that becomes super key. It's essential not to plan an international retreat right after you do a local retreat. So I think the mindset around it can be, oh, I want to host something beautiful here locally, which of course do. I think a lot of times people who put those together think that they're putting those together for people who for some reason can't come with them to the bigger international retreat that might require more resources later. But what happens is a lot of times people go to the local, more affordable one, and then they're stuck 3 months out from an international retreat that they can't fill. And that's something that I see where people say, hey, I'm not filling this. What's the problem? Then I look at the website and I'm just like, oh, no. So really choosing, for instance, if you're going to Aruba or Mexico or Bali or wherever you're going, I believe that the best practice is to lead that retreat first, create that community, take that momentum after that retreat, and then you have the local retreat 3 or 4 months after that. And that's, so often people leave retreat and they want to do something together as community. So to have that option close after and also make it more financially and energetically accessible than the international retreat is, I think it's really key with groups who lead multiple retreats, maybe out of a yoga studio, something like that, to look at the order in which they put multiple retreats. I think that putting a local retreat ahead of an international one really cannibalizes an international retreat.
Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too.
I could not agree more. I have seen the same thing in both directions. And so I love that plan so much. And I like that you mentioned, look at your dates and your demographic. So for instance, I have very rarely seen a retreat be successful Easter weekend. I have seen it, but very rarely, right? And so, thinking about who you're serving and who your community is and your demographic, does that weekend make sense? Or you pick a location and that historically, give you an example, in my ranch, July and August, it's hot balls, right?
Yes.
Literally very warm. And, if your demographic is like, yeah, I'm warm, I like warm, but I want to be next to an ocean instead, or, whatever may be the case, or whatever you're doing is going to be lots and lots of outdoor things. I don't know if July and August is the best pick for our ranch if most of your activities are going to be outside. And so just thinking about the weather, about the holidays, about your people that you are working with, what appeals to them. And I think you might have even mentioned it, or at least it popped in my head when you were talking, is ask them.
Yes, a big pre-planning piece. See what your guests want to do. Where do they want to go? When do they want to go? Make it easy for yourselves, because people love to share what they want to do.
Yeah, I love it. For instance, so I've been doing retreats for, I think, about 15 years. COVID has really jacked up my numbers as far as in my brain and dates, but somewhere around 15 years. And I do every other year, I do an alumni retreat. So it's a retreat just for people who've already been on retreat with me. And so this year we're doing it at the ranch in June, which can be somewhat hot, somewhat not. And I had about 80% of my alumni were with me in Mexico recently on my retreat. And we were talking about this alumni retreat, and they all were saying, Shannon, it's going to be warm, but we're coming anyway because you are spending time at the lake. We're doing a lake excursion. And so that's just an example of I know it's going to be warmer here. I know what people want to do when it's warmer. For my demographic and my alumni, they want to spend time on the water. And so that's what I incorporated into this alumni retreat that I don't normally do, because I don't normally host retreats in the summer. But it's just that pre-planning part that you're talking about is does your community, do your people that you want to work with and that work with you, do they like this destination? Do they like the activities that you're wanting to add on that destination may or may not have? Will they like the weather at that time? Will they like the type of accommodations, whether it be luxury or very nature forward or camping? You know what I mean? Like really understanding your community, what they're going to like, what they're going to prefer. And then if you are confused at all, ask them.
And everything you're saying really is something, these are things that need to be done before you even, before you're even having the calls with the retreat centers. This is all the information you gather ahead of time, and doing these things, they're going to increase enrollments, they're going to increase success, they're going to increase client satisfaction, which builds, a retreat business that continues to flourish. So they're key things.
I love it. So other than some of these mistakes that we've talked about, have you seen either other things that have hurt retreat hosts that they've made decisions on, or have you seen like a best practice or two that has like, this is why this retreat was so successful at my venue?
I had somebody last week who is so brilliant at the things that I think are just essential for making a retreat be easy and also making sure that your guests are happy. And what she did is she communicated ahead of time. They had Zoom calls, they had emails. So not only creating a community amongst the guests who are coming, but everyone knows what to expect. No one forgot their tennis shoes, even though there was a hike planned. Everyone had their water bottles. So on retreat, because retreating, and I think you'll agree with me on this, I'm not sure, but retreating is different than traveling alone. Like retreating is a different beast, and a lot of people haven't retreated before. So it's, and we can't expect them to know what it's like if we don't tell them. So the biggest best practice is for the leader to have Q&A sessions and even go over the itinerary. Talk about what staying at the venue is like. Talk about what meals are going to be like so that people really know what to expect. We don't see challenging guests here that often, but we do see unprepared guests. And that's really my biggest tip to leaders, and something I just saw last week the leader be so masterful at is preparing guests. And then the second part of that is honoring the commitment and the boundaries to what you said the retreat is going to look like. You said it's going to be a certain way, make it a certain way. And that makes things feel really safe and easy for guests and for leaders and for venues.
Oh my goodness. I think you need to write a book. I think we need to come up with a second book. I love this so much. The communication thing, Shelley, if I had just one, like once you've already got all the other details we talked about, but like one piece of advice for the operation and the logistics of your retreat is to over communicate, to literally walk through your guests, what they're going to experience, what it's going to be like, where they're going to meet, like every possible detail that you can think of, not just on a Zoom call, but like a fax document, sharing it with the venue first, like, hey, could you take a peek at this? Let me know what I'm missing. Like really working with the venue on making sure that all the details match up with what they're expecting and vice versa. And then those Zoom calls are so important. The WhatsApp groups are so important. And then especially, I mean, this applies to every retreat, but especially in international retreat, really making sure that you have a quick one-on-one conversation with every guest, because someone might get on a Zoom call and they might be like, okay, but I kind of don't want to ask my question. I'm nervous, or I don't know, they can't attend the Zoom call, whatever may be the case. Just a quick one-on-one, like, hey, were you able to make the Zoom call? Or already they did or didn't. Reviewing everything on the itinerary, reviewing the transportation, reviewing the questions, like just a quick one-on-one with each guest before they show up will literally make the difference between someone who's surprised or, something unexpected happens or whatever, because you can say, we've had this conversation or whatever be the case. But just that one-on-one call is, I think, critical prior to the retreat taking place.
And that person also, because we all know those people who don't read. So if you've got someone who's not being responsive, who's not communicating and things like that, like instead of letting them just, be like, okay, we'll figure it out when we get there, that's the person you've got to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, you know what, like not everybody's learning style is reading, no big deal. Let's take a minute and talk through this together and see if you've got any questions. Because it really does. Like, we see a lot of people who want retreat businesses. They want repeat guests. And we see, this woman that I'm bragging on who was here last week, this is her second time here, sold out. And she has return guests, and she has return guests because they have great experiences, and she's going to make sure they're prepared whether they like it or not.
I love it. I love it so much. These are such great best practices all the way around, as well as warning and heeds to take notice of.
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm popping in to ask a quick question. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game and fill those retreat slots faster than ever? Of course you are. That's why you're here. And we've got the toolkit for you, our top 5 marketing tools for retreat leaders guide. This isn't just a guide. It's your marketing guru wrapped up in one easy-to-follow package. Dive into the essentials of social media marketing, where we show you how to leverage those platforms to create a community buzzing with excitement for your retreats. Also, unleash the power of content marketing with strategies that educate and engage your potential guests. Plus, we'll dive into email marketing, SEO, and partnership opportunities that open new doors and bring in streams of attendees. So why wait to make your retreats the talk of the town? Download your free guide today by visiting retreatmarketingtools.com and start transforming your retreat dreams into reality.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about your place, what you offer, kind of give us the spiel and why someone would want to book with you before we end our call?
Yes. So let's see. Well, the location is beautiful. Baja California Sur is my favorite place in the whole wide world. We are just a few paces back from the Pacific Ocean. We're in whale season right now, so there's whales breaching right out in front. And we're a close walk to a surfing and swim beach. The area is just really beautiful. We've got the ocean. We're also in the middle of the desert, and there's the mountains right behind us. So you see all of these different environments here in one magical place. We're located right on the Tropic of Cancer. And one thing that my husband and I fell in love with is that this place is so special and it's so easily accessible. People just need to fly into the Cabo San Lucas airport, and we're about an hour north of there. But our real secret sauce is in how we care for leaders. I'm really clear that retreat leaders are my customer, that retreat leaders are the ones that I want to take care of and support and make sure that they have all of the tools that they need to be able to connect with and take care of their guests. So yeah, that's it. And that's really what our focus is on, is how do we take care of the leader and make sure, that they offer a great experience.
I love that. I will have it linked in the show notes, but just in case someone's listening and isn't a reader, do you want to shout out your website or how people can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So the website is topiaretreat.com and on Instagram at Topia Retreat. And it's for people who ask, Topia is a play on Utopia.
I love it. Chelle, thank you so much for being a guest and for doing what you do. I'm so excited that another husband and wife team saw a vision and really wanted to bring that to fruition to really, at the end of the day, create a space for love and connection. And so thank you so much for doing that and for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And what you are doing here with this podcast, I know there's such a need for leader support and leader tips. So thank you for being a space where people can come learn and be set up for success in their retreat leading journeys.
Absolutely. It brings me just as much pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.